Bonjour et bienvenue dans Foulard et Féminisme. Today, sorry I'm a little bit ill, but today I'm going to tell you about my religious decolonization. It's a very serious topic, but no, it's not that serious. But if you easily offended because you're religious, you might want to stop the video already. So, my religious decolonization. But first, I'm going to show you a head wrap tutorial. I initially wanted to show you the head wrap style I did when I went to watch Black Panther. Those who follow me on social media know what I'm talking about. It was really amazing. I was really proud of myself. But I don't have the right hair right now. I changed my hairstyle, so I'm just going to show you something else. So you take a fabric like pretty heavy, like this kente fabric, we call it kita in Ivory Coast, and basically just follow what I do, okay? Just tie it in the front, bring it back like around, tuck it on the side. And you do the same with the other end. Yep. Take it well. That already looks good, but we're gonna add a second one. This one is a red head wrap, pretty stretchy, as you can see. I'm gonna add it. And you just basically wrap it around the big bun that you've just made. No, just tuck it, well, in the folds at the back, and I'm just gonna make it look like I want it to look like. So you just arrange it and rearrange it so it looks nice. So basically that's about the look I wanted to achieve. Yes. And now I'm gonna add my necklace made of cowries. Just basically, let me see. I'm gonna just, yes. Et voilà. Voila. How'd you like it? It's pretty, isn't it? So let's start. I was born in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. My family is Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I was baptized. Normal stuff. My family is Catholic because French Catholic people colonized my country. That's the reason. And I've never really had issues with religion because before my religious decolonization, because my family has always been pretty moderate. I believe in Ivory Coast with moderate Christians, I think. At least I've seen worse, so I can say we are moderate Christians. So I went to Catholic school. I spent my childhood in Ivory Coast, so I went to a Catholic school where we had like Catholic classes, catechism, as we say in France, church school, Sunday school, where it wasn't on Sunday, it was part of the curriculum. So I've never really been a very, very religious person. So even as a kid, I understood that some things didn't quite add up. But you know, it's your family, it's your community. I really didn't have any problem, especially because everyone has a religion in Ivory Coast, and as a kid you don't really have the range to question what's going on around you, especially religion. You can just feel that some things are not right or don't feel right to you. or some things don't quite add up. Then we moved to France when I was around 10, and first we were in this kind of rich neighborhood with lots of white people, and when we used to go to church there was a majority of white people, and I could feel like some kind of, you know, animosity, or like you weren't really welcome, you know. Then we moved to a second city where there was lots of black people in church, and those people became our community. And this church was really diverse, like lots of African, Caribbeans, Portuguese, Indians, Arabic, Christians. So it was a really good church, and like very social, and also because of the African community that made it really lively, alive. So I think I met some of my oldest friends in church. There was a youth group. We used to do lots of stuff together. It was really fun. Honestly, I didn't have any bad memory in church, you know, like we used to have fun together, and it was really the community's part that was fun to me. In somewhere around 2013, I went to Brazil for a internship in a feminist organization. So it was the time I was starting to learn more about feminism. And then when I went to Brazil, I realized I knew there was black people practicing African religions in Brazil, but I didn't really realize what it meant because I still had my prejudices, my Catholic prejudices against African religions. So I remember I went to this concert of maracatu. Maracatu is an Afro-Brazilian dance and music, and it's really linked to the traditional African religion like candomblé. So I remember hearing the drums and really feeling like it was something that I had missed all my life. I felt like I was in my village somewhere in Ivory Coast. It was really a weird feeling because I didn't go to my village. My parents didn't take me to a village in Ivory Coast, all because of the stigma against the village, because I don't know if it's just somewhere everywhere in West Africa, but that's this Ivorian thing that said that if you take your children to the village, something bad will happen to them because that's where witchcraft happens. And the village, I think the mindset behind it is like the village is where people still practice sometimes those African spirituality, and since because of Christianism those things have been demonized, well, if you take your kids there, the witches and the wizards will actually harm them. So this is a way to cut people from the villages and from the original tradition, you know. So my parents didn't take me to the village, maybe 1 or 2 times, but not enough for me even to speak the language or to know anything about life in the village or my traditional culture, you know. So I was in Brazil and I was feeling like I was in my village because of the drums and the dances and the lyrics, and it was really an interesting feeling, you know, like something you have lost and you didn't know you had lost. It was really interesting. So when I was in Brazil, I started actually realizing that there were black people in this world who still practice traditional African religion, like really not hidden or something, for real, and they're proud of it. And it started make me question, like, why do we continental African, we just gave up? We didn't continue, or we do it like secretly, and we still hold these colonial views about our own religion, while other black people who've been deported and taken from Africa are still holding on to it and still making it alive, gaining rights, you know, gaining right to have their religion respected, because of course those religions have been persecuted also in the Americas, where the former slaves didn't have the right to practice their religion. So even like this, they managed to keep it on the low and to keep it throughout history, throughout the centuries. So I was thinking, but why didn't we do that? What happened? Why did we give up? So those were the kind of questions that were popping in my head when I was in Brazil and seeing all those people proud of being black and proud of being an African descending, practicing a religion that we continental African aren't even practicing anymore. sometime after, I went to the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, for a job. And it was, like, religiously wise, it was horrible. Like, the level of fanaticism in this country when it comes to religion is crazy. It's also linked to money and poverty, and like you have tons of pastors conning people. And honestly, the Catholic Church is not even saint in all these businesses. I think it's the last time I went to church, because I went there and I was like, okay, that doesn't represent me. This is not my, yeah, I just can't, I can't, you know. And and when I was in the DRC, I was walking, so I was going from villages to villages, and I could see all those old churches built by colonizers, whether they were Belgian or Portuguese, and they all had those statues of a white person, usually a priest or a nun, with a black person in a situation, in a position of inferiority. So it was like this missionary or this priest leaning down to this black person that was there. It was always this kind of image, this kind of inferiority image of the black people taking something and or worshiping the white person. I mean, not only, and also the white images, whitewashed images of Jesus everywhere with blue eyes, of Mary everywhere with blue eyes, and everyone is white and everyone is so colonized, and all the images are so whitewashed. And I was really realizing that no, this is a problem, and it's not something I actually want to associate myself with anymore. And when I was in Congo, I started seeing like all these images and the representation of black people in inferior position and white people in superior position. I started looking up at the old prayers, like the old prayers, and they were all so racist. It was like, oh, God save the souls of those African people. And I was like, okay, so yeah. And I remember one time we went to some of the oldest, I think one of the oldest town in the DRC, called Mwanda, where the Portuguese arrived first. And I was working with my guides, and they were like, oh, so this is the cathedral that was one of the oldest cathedral that was built by the Portuguese, but only white people could go there. And this little old ugly church here is the church black people could attend. And I'm thinking in my head, when this guy tells me that, how can this country be so religious and fanatic about Christianity, when you have the proof in front of you that this religion wasn't brought for your own good, because they wouldn't even be in the same church as you, you know? It was just brought to brainwash you, make you alien of your own culture, and tell you that whatever they are is better. But like, you have the proof in front of you, yet you cannot bring two and two together, one and one together, I don't know what's the expression, and realize it. I mean, I don't blame them, because it's hard. I mean, that's everything you've been taught. But when this guy was telling me, I was like, such nonsense. So after that, I went to Ivory Coast again. I went back for holidays, and I think it was the moment where my eyes were wide open. I was starting to see everything that was wrong with the religion of the colonizers. So I went to visit this cathedral where I did my first communion with my mom and my friend. And it's a big cathedral in the city center of Abidjan. If you ever go there, go visit it. Architecturally, it's very beautiful. It's called the Cathedral Saint Paul. So I entered this cathedral, I hadn't entered in years, and I see this big image, stained glass image, thing they put in church, of actually the false narrative that have been pushed on our colonized African. It was just in front of my eyes. So in this image, there was black people, Africans, wearing African gowns that didn't exist when white people were coming. But I mean, it wasn't historically accurate, obviously. So African on the shore of the sea with their wild animal, elephant, giraffes, and white people coming from the sea in their boats with the Bible, and white and black people on the shore waiting for them, clapping for them, dancing. Like, that is what happened. Like, white people coming with the Bible to save us, and us waiting for them. And I was like, wow. And there was lots of black people coming in and out of the church to pray. And I was like, why can't they see this is problematic? This is a lie. I mean, and Ivory Coast is a country that really suffer from French neocolonialism. So I feel like this was so all linked. I couldn't even believe that people couldn't see that this image there was part of the problem, you know? So I was like, okay, this is just too much for me. And I'm glad I really don't associate myself with this religion anymore, because the more I look into it, the more I see it's problematic, the more I see it's pushing a false narrative. And it was also at the same moment that I started to grow up in my feminism, reading more about colonialism, anti-colonialism, feminism, the black condition. And it kind of clashed with all of that, because when you meet African men who tell you that, oh, women are inferior because the Bible says so, so you understand that this religion has been used to push a sexist agenda. Not to say that before Christianity was forced on us, we were equal societies, but it was this conservative Christianity that doesn't even exist here anymore. I mean here, I mean in Europe anymore, that they are using to deny women's rights, to deny LGBTQ people rights. And it's not even based on African tradition, but they feel like they have interiorized it. I mean, patriarch will use anything to push their agenda, right? But just to hear them say, oh, feminism is not African because the Bible, it's written in the Bible that women are inferior. And when you tell them what, but the Bible is not African, it has been brought by white people, colonizer, and they're like, I mean, that doesn't make sense, you know? And yeah, and I started to realize that many countries in Africa use this religion and the conservatism to deny women rights. For instance, in Uganda, because of all the American evangelical churches that have been founded by fanatic evangelical in the US, the government is denying people sexual education, which makes AIDS rise, you know? It's crazy. And I feel like this is not even, I mean, I couldn't understand. It's one thing as a feminist to fight against patriarchy, traditional African or black patriarchy. But when this patriarchy is backed up by white religion and white conservatism from that white people don't even use anymore to deny women rights, it's just a mind fuck. You're like, what? It's crazy. So I gradually stopped identifying myself as Christian, and I'm not atheist. So I was just had this will of finding a spirituality that could match my values. And I thought, well, I am African. I was born in Africa. My parents are African. So I have a religion that was there before. I'm not going to start looking to American indigenous religion or Asian indigenous religion. I have my own indigenous religion. But the thing is, because of this colonization, this African indigenous religion has been demonized, like I told before. And the people who demonize the most African religions are African themselves, black people themselves. If you say to someone that you are practicing voodoo or Ifa or candomblé, they will tell you that you're a witch. And like, black people, African people that internalize the fact that, traditional religions are a thing of a devil, you know? And it's funny because those people will have internalized the fact that African religion are a thing of a devil, but yet when their prayer don't work, their prayer to white Jesus, I use the term white Jesus a lot, because to me, the whitewashed image of white Jesus is what represents the colonized mind, the colonization behind all this. So I really use white Jesus as a term for everything, you know. So yet when the prayer to white Jesus don't work, they still use those traditional stuff, you know. They still use the traditional healers. You're gonna tell me that like traditional spirituality and traditional healers are not linked. Yes, they are. It's all linked. So you're gonna demonize. I know people of my family that are like that. You're gonna demonize your own traditional religion. Yet when you need it, you will go back to the village to be healed by a traditional practitioner. You know, because there's something that are still there, but yet we have this cognitive dissonance. Yeah, it's sad. It's crazy. So when I stopped identifying as Christian, Catholic, I started looking for what my ancestor believed in. I'm from two tribes. I'm Bete, and my dad is Bete, my mom is Baule, two different tribes, so they had to have different beliefs. And this is something I didn't have access to because, first of all, I live in France, and my mother is Catholic, my dad is Catholic, so they have internalized this thing that whatever traditional religion is a thing of a demon, so they won't tell me anything if they know anything. So I really felt it really hurt me that the fact that I am African, my parents are African, my grandparents are still alive, yet I do not have access to my traditional religions, my traditional spirituality. Not even to practice it, but I just wanted to know what my ancestors believed in. Like, do they believe in some force of nature? Did they have a pantheon? Did they have, like, I just wanted to know. Yeah, I just wanted to have a clear understanding of what my ancestors believe in. What do Bete people believe in? What is their religion? What do Baule people believe in? What is their religion? How do they practice it? Simple stuff like that. But I did not have access to it, you know, and I felt really sad about it. So I started getting close to following people on social media that are into traditional African religion and were doing the work of making this thing, undoing the propaganda that have been done against this religion for centuries, stop making it look like something of the devil. And I came across this documentary called Ancestral Voices. So you should watch it. It's really interesting. You have to pay for it, but like, pay for it. People work for it, so pay for it. And it really explains the roots of traditional religion in Africa, like various traditional religions with people, and also the link into the diaspora and how it's linked with other traditional indigenous religion, and how Abrahamical religion, so Islam, Judaism, Christianity, actually are kind of the same. Like, it was actually disappointing to me to see that it was kind of the same. The base, how it's divided, not the dogmas, but I mean, I don't want to spoil the documentary for you, but you should watch it. So you have to understand that my parents are alive, my grandparents are alive, I am African, but I had to go through a documentary to know what my people believed in. So I came across many articles. I knew I wasn't the only one, but many articles actually talking about the fact that many young Black people, especially Black women, are trading in church for African spirituality. And I'm going to put the link of one or two of these articles below. And in one of those articles, one of the ladies says that Christian culture continues to uphold patriarchy, rape culture, and white supremacy, even within the Black churches. And that's exactly what it is for me, and that is why I cannot identify with it anymore. So right now I'm in a moment of my life when I'm really angry against colonialism and white Jesus, and I'm really, especially because it's in my family, in my life, I really see the effect of this religious colonization on the lives of young women, or the lives of young Black women, or the lives of young African women. And it really angers me. So I'm not in a geographical place where I have a community of people that are still interested in the same African spirituality as me. So if I was in Brazil, I would have access to this community of people practicing African spirituality. But in Paris, I don't think there is one. So I feel a bit isolated, but it's okay. I keep on doing my research, and I hope to find a community one day to actually, because the thing that I miss the most about being a Christian is not the religion itself, is the community, the fact that when you go to church, you know everyone is your auntie, everyone is your uncle, and you play with the children. That's what religion is for most of the time. That's why people still go to church and do all this organized religion, is the community gives you. And in my path to African traditional religion, I do not have this community. So it feels a bit lonely sometimes, but I'm not going back to white Jesus. And also I want to make clear that I don't shame African or black people who practice colonized religion or Christianity or whatever else. I just understand, for instance, my Iberian mother wouldn't have made it in France if she didn't have this African community in church. So I understand that is a support system, and still many people need that support system, and religion or Christianity has been used for many black people who have been suffering to cope with their suffering. So I just want to make sure I don't blame anyone. What I blame people is for upholding those colonized views about Africa, their own religions, their own spiritualities, and using religion, the colonizer religion, to actually harm women, deny them rights, to actually harm LGBTQ people, and to deny them rights. Voila. So I hope you liked it. I hope it was clear. If you have any material, any articles, documentary related to the topic that you want me to read, I would be glad to read it. You share it with me. Share, like, subscribe, and yeah, that's it. See you next time. Bye.